Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so very, very happy and honored that you're part of our Reading with Your Kids family. Have you connected with us on Facebook yet? You can do it at facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. On Twitter, it's at Jedley Magic, and on Instagram, it's Reading with Your Kids. We have a wonderful guest for you today. She is celebrating her debut picture book. Her name is Teresa Robeson, and the name of her book is Queen of Physics. We can't wait to introduce you to Teresa and to the Queen of Physics. But before we do, I want to introduce you to my brand new educational magic show that's going to inspire kids this year. It's called We Will Roar. Respect others and read. And in this exciting and totally interactive show, I am going to inspire students to choose to be respectful of themselves, their school, and everyone they meet. I'm also going to inspire them to read aloud each day, preferably with you or with somebody else that they love. Now, we know that choosing to be respectful and to treat others with the respect that we want people to treat us with is a great first step in building a safe and caring learning community. We also know that kids reading every single day, it helps improve their emotional intelligence and also increases empathy. We know that this is going to really help make the 2019-2020 school year the best school year ever. Now, I love the fact that so many people love the show and have said so many nice things. One of the nicest compliments that any educators ever paid me came from Sister Mary Watson. She is a principal of St. Patrick's School down in McGowan, Tennessee. She said that Jedley came to our school and gave the most entertaining presentation to our students. We were all engaged and enthralled from beginning to the end. His show helped every child to feel important and valued. You can learn more about this show by going to our website, WeWillRoar.com. That's WeWillRoar.com. Joining us on the line right now from Bloomington in the great state of Indiana. She's here to tell us about her debut picture book. We're really excited to talk about the Queen of Physics, how Wu Chien Shiung helped unlock the secret of the atom. Please welcome to the show author Teresa Robeson. Teresa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jed. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
You're very, very welcome. I apologize. I know I butchered the pronunciation of Wu's name. We were talking a little bit about that before we came on. But I'm really excited to learn about the Queen of Physics. Please tell us all about this story.
All right. Well, it's about Wu, who was born in China in 1920. And she, that was a time when girls really didn't go to school, let alone do higher education. So, but her parents were really encouraging, and they believed that girls should go to school, and they encouraged her to do so. And she found out that she really loved physics, and she went on, to I guess go to the university in Nanjing. My memory's a little bad. But anyway, when she finished that, she couldn't do a graduate degree in China, so she moved to the United States to do her graduate degree. And she was originally, I think, going to go to a school in the Midwest, but she landed in Berkeley, California, where she decided to do graduate studies there, and she got her PhD, and she was a very meticulous and careful researcher, and so much so that other scientists, theoretical physicists who do thought experiments rather than actual hands-on experiments, would come up with these ideas, and they would ask her to perform experiments to help show that their hypotheses are actually correct. And so, she did that for a lot of them. And these men like, Enrico Fermi and, other physicists went on to win Nobel Prizes, but she didn't, even though she did get a lot of accolades herself. But the book is about just her struggles as a woman, as a minority living in America, and how she overcame that and became one of the top physicists of her time. So much so that there was a 1962 article on her in Newsweek magazine where it was titled Queen of Physics, and that's where I thought, oh, that is such a cool title. I have to use that for my picture book title. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, that's really exciting. I'm wondering in your research, is there anything that you can point to that gave Wu the strength? Because as you said, she had these challenges. We talk about today that still it's challenging for young women to get into physics and into the STEM fields, and girls here in 2019 have to have a lot of courage and support to be able to get in there and make it as an engineer, as a physicist, or as a scientist. And now we're talking almost 50, 75 years ago. And it was even more difficult for women, and especially a young woman coming from China. Were you able to identify any one or two or three things that kind of gave her that inner strength to keep on persevering?
Yes, her father was a strong force for her in her life. He really encouraged her and her love of learning, and he strongly believed, like her mother did too, that girls could do anything. It doesn't matter that you're a girl. And his piece of advice to her was that, she should ignore the obstacles, just put her head down and keep on walking. And so she took that to heart, and that was the source of her strength, just knowing that her father believed in her and the advice he gave her. Plus, she greatly admired two of the top women scientists of that era too. So there was Marie Curie, of course, everybody knows her, and there was also Lisa Meitner, whom she admired even more. And, she saw by their example how they were able to overcome the prejudice against women during that time, and that gave her the strength to plow forward herself. And she was, from my readings, just a very, stubborn kind of person who would not take no for an answer. So there was that too.
It's funny. We joke about kids who are, and you go through their terrible twos, or kids who are really stubborn, and as parents we're like, oh, this is really a pain in the neck, and I don't like having to deal with this. But when you think about it, it's a really kind of a great trait to have, especially if we want our kids to succeed. Just, having that trait that, no, I see my goal. I know where it is. I'm going to get there. If I have to climb over this fence, over this log, or over that person, I'm going to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It is annoying for the parents, but it's a good trait to have later on in life, especially when you're, facing a lot of adversities like, sexism and racism. So, yeah.
Well, yes, absolutely. And it's a good trait to have no matter what your gender, what your race, because we're all going to be, all of our sons and daughters are going to be facing challenges. And yes, some of the challenges come from outside of ourselves. Some of the challenges come from within ourselves too, and those voices that keep telling us, "Oh, you're not good enough," and kind of being stubborn in the light of that voice, I think, is really important too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what were some of the discoveries that were responsible for finding?
Well, there was, let's see, well, the famous ones is, involved these two, fellow Chinese physicists. And they, everybody at that time believed that, nature had something called parity, not parity. Uh-huh. Parity. So they believed that nature was symmetrical. The right hand mirrors the left hand, and but Li and Yang, those two other physicists, thought that maybe nature didn't quite believe that way, but it was going to be a really difficult experiment to perform, but they knew that she would be the person to do it because, well, that was her reputation at the time, that she was a very careful researcher. So she actually performed that experiment. She even postponed a trip to go back to China to see her parents because after she left China, World War II broke out and she couldn't go back home for a long time. But anyway, she was so dedicated to her work that she set out to do this experiment for Li and Yang, and she put off a trip to go visit her parents. And anyway, and she succeeded. So they won the Nobel Prize for that hypothesis that nature does violate parity. It sometimes behaves asymmetrically. And unfortunately, Nobel Prize has this rule that, it's people who come up with the ideas that get the prize, not necessarily the people who do the hard work proving these ideas. So anyway, she didn't get the award, but that was one of her major contributions. And later on in life, because she did work on beta decay, which is a type of radioactivity, she actually used it to look at anemia and worked on some medical areas, with her research.
Fascinating. Was it challenging for you not being a scientist to kind of put this information into words, especially for a young picture book audience?
It definitely is. Just because, well, I do have a science background, even though I'm not a scientist, and my husband is a scientist, but I have taken lots of physics courses. And so I sort of understand the physics. I mean, the basics of it. I'm not as well versed in radioactivity or anything higher up. So the hardest part, of course, is to explain anything in a simple enough language to, make sure kids understand it. And I see a lot of other science books out there for younger kids, like picture books, and they do have to simplify it down so much that, if you're a real stickler, you would say, that's not quite right, but it gives the kids some idea so that, they can proceed forward to later sciences, as they learn higher and higher sciences. It gives them a good foundation. But yeah, that was the hardest part, I would say, because I could probably explain it to my peers much easier, but to use the simpler language for younger kids was a little bit harder. But, I can't tell you who yet, but I do have a starred review from this organization that just understood that. They thought I did a good job, so I'm happy.
Well, congratulations for that. That's wonderful. I was going to say, you could have called me, because if you could explain it to me, then you however you explain it to me, a 3-year-old would understand, I think. Now, it's wonderful you had this starred review, and we'll learn about that in the near future, we hope. But what other kind of reaction are you having from families and kids who may have experienced Queen of Physics?
Well, not a whole lot of people has read it yet because I only have the Fold and Gather right now. The book isn't out yet. It's not out till September 17th. Well, I can tell you one thing about it. When I was working on the story, I applied for the We Need Diverse Books mentorship. And Jane Yolen, read my story, and she absolutely loved it. And she, helped me rework it a lot to, just make it better than it was. And so that's a reaction that really just, of course, thrilled me to pieces, because who doesn't want to be loved by Jane Yolen, right? And, so my husband's excited, because, well, like I said, he's a scientist. He's actually a climatologist. And, like I said, I haven't really shared it with any kids yet. My kids are too old for it. They're 23 and 21, so, they don't care. But I can't wait to share it with, younger kids and see their reaction, and hopefully they'll, feel the same way as Jane and the other place that gave me a starred review. So yeah, I can't wait.
Now, we're talking a little bit earlier about the fact that you've been writing for a number of years, but this is your first book, your debut picture book. How did this experience differ from the past experiences you had writing?
Well, writing picture books is, first of all, it takes a long time. Magazine markets can take a long time too, but fortunately they didn't take too long for me. And when I first started writing, I sent, things out to magazine markets, and I was pretty lucky in that they got accepted quickly and they came out. It was really gratifying to have bylines so fast. But, writing picture books, or writing just books in general, I didn't think I was capable of it for many years, which is why I didn't actually start trying to write picture books until 2010, versus my writing for magazines, which started in the early 90s. And I would say it's difficult in that I really have to keep in mind that I can't over-explain, because I have to leave a lot of room for the illustrations, which, are wonderful. I'm an illustrator myself also, so I totally understand that. But it was just hard to kind of combine the two, okay, don't write so much, because I also write for adults and adult short stories, and so those really take a lot more words, and you have to convey these simple but beautiful ideas in a small amount of words. Luckily with nonfiction, they do allow you, 1,000 words or more, but in fiction, they want you to keep it under 500 words and yet still convey so much. So that's been a learning experience. And, and it's so much more complicated. With a magazine, you send it to them and, it just gets published and whatever. But with a picture book, you have to wait for this and you have to wait for that. And there's a whole new language to learn about, all these rights. And luckily I have an agent, so she deals with most of that technical stuff, so I don't have to. But like I said, it's just a lot to learn rather than writing magazines.
It's interesting that you shared with us, and I'm really happy that you shared with us that, I didn't think I could write this picture book. I didn't think I could write a book. I know I could write magazine articles, but I didn't think I could write a book. And then your first subject that you wrote about was this woman who said, I don't care what anybody else says about me. I'm doing this. I believe I can do this, and I'm going to do this.
Yes. We are so different, her and I.
Uh-huh. Did you get that sense while you were researching and writing about Wu that, hey, I admire this person, but we're really, really different people?
Yes. I mean, we are kind of the same. I felt a kinship to her because we're both, Chinese American, and we both love science. But she had just the tenacity that I didn't. A good friend of mine, Douglas Florian, who's a well-known children's book writer, he told me once, this is great advice, he said, Teresa, you need more chutzpah. And I thought, yeah, Douglas, you're right. I don't have that. I need to believe in myself more. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Wu believed in herself because, it's not like my parents weren't supportive, but she believed in herself and she had, strong parental support. I had strong parental support, but somehow I'm just, I didn't believe in myself enough that I could do it. So it took me a long time to learn, and hopefully I'm learning by her example. Just believe in myself.
Well, your honesty, it just points out that we are all different. And, and we all have, as parents, we can give our kids all the support, that we can and that we should. And, we can have two kids and give them both the same support, and they're going to react differently to it, just because of who they are. The important thing is, though, that we spend time supporting them and letting them know that they can do anything that they want to do. And a book like Queen of Physics is a great way, a great tool for family to do that, to sit down and to read this wonderful story together. And I just know, as you know, my daughter is now a very strong, capable 23-year-old woman. And we would read books like this when she was a baby and say, oh, look what she did. You can do the same thing, too. Whatever you want to do, you can do just like Wu.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think about that, you know, a family, a dad, a mom, a grandparent, an uncle, they're going to be sitting down with my book, encouraging their little girls to do great things?
It's one of those thoughts that is like, whoa. And I think I experienced it most first, you know, with my first short story that was published in Ladybug magazine. Just the idea that, oh my goodness, thousands of kids are going to be reading this. Thousands of parents are going to be reading this to, you know, their kids. So yeah, it's the same excitement that I feel in me that I have touched, you know, somebody's lives in some way. And I often think of something Isaac Asimov had said, which is that, you know, some people think that to pass on their legacy, they would have kids. But he says, no, you know, to pass on my legacy, I'm going to write stories and books that people read that will touch many, many lives. You know, that's how I will pass on my legacy. And that's the way about it, which is humbling and exciting at the same time.
That is really exciting. Now, I don't want to feel like I'm raining on your parade, so forgive me if I do, but you have the debut picture book. It's just about out. We're going to be celebrating that now. Do you have plans to write another picture book?
Yes. In fact, my second picture book will be coming out, unless something changes, in the spring of 2020. I can't say anything else about it just yet because it's still not been announced. But hopefully it'll be announced soon. It's not nonfiction. This one is own voices, though, and it was inspired by a trip I took with my family, to China a few years ago. So it's a fun story. I hope people will like it. I love the art. The artwork is gorgeous, and I'm just really excited about this second book, too.
Well, we're really excited about that, and I am looking forward because you have an open invitation. The minute you can come back and tell us about that, we want you to come back on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Before we do that, why don't you let everybody know where they can connect with you online and find out more about Queen of Physics?
Well, they can go to my website at Teresa Robeson, all one word, .com, and I have my social media links there. Or you can find me an awful lot, my husband would say, on Twitter at Teresa Robeson, again, all one word. That's where I mostly hang out. I do have a Facebook author page, which is Teresa Robeson Author, but I don't do a whole lot there. I engage a lot more on Twitter, I must say.
Awesome.
And an Instagram account. The Instagram is TM Robeson, because someone else already took Teresa Robeson.
Well, we're really excited. We want everybody to go online, and you can pre-order the book right now. The name of the book is Queen of Physics by our guest, Teresa Robeson. Teresa, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, Jed. I am really honored you reached out to me to ask me to be on this interview. You're my first audio interview. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Natasha Carlo. She is the author of Happy Tears and Rainbow Babies. This is a very, very powerful interview. You do not want to miss it. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a wonderful children's book, you were probably surprised to find out that after the book was written and you found a publisher, either a traditional publisher or you're publishing the book yourself, that you magically became the marketing director for your book. Yeah, most people don't understand that the author of a book is the person that's most responsible for promoting that book and for getting out there and selling the book. Unless you're like, Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or John Grisham, you are the person who is most responsible to market your book. And that can be really difficult because you didn't set out to be a marketing director. You're an author, you're a creator, you're an artist. Well, we would love to help you. We have a wonderful program that's called the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Program. We have assembled a team of evaluators, their parents, their teachers, and kids. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. And with that status comes a number of different tools that will help your book stand out amongst the crowd of books that are published every single month. It really has been a benefit to a number of fantastic books. The authors that have participated in the program are really, really happy with the results. You might want to check it out. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Certified Great Read button. We want to thank the people who made today's show a certified great podcast. Our guest, Teresa Robeson. Be sure to check out Queen of Physics. Also want to thank the people who are interested in my educational magic show. It's called We Will Roar. Check it out at wewillroar.com. I want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan. Check out her blog at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me. I want to thank Augie the Wonder Dog for watching my back here in the studio. And, of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.